Life stories. Black CEO shows up to her hotel, staff tell her to leave. Big mistake. A 42-year-old black CEO walked into her own luxury hotel and was told, "We're full, guests only." She didn't argue. She made one phone call and everything changed. She didn't want anything fancy. No welcome party, no red carpet. Just a key, a warm bed, and one quiet night to reset before a board meeting she hadn't even planned to attend in person. But when Lauren Jefferson stepped through the revolving doors of the Summit Crest Hotel in Asheville, North Carolina, nothing went as expected. She walked in with the kind of quiet confidence that didn't need attention. Her soft leather loafers didn't click. Her tailored charcoal slacks weren't flashy. The blouse, dusty blue silk, was clean but plain. A canvas duffel bag hung from her shoulder. No assistant, no entourage. She looked like any other traveler or someone trying to look like one. Behind the reception desk, a young woman chewed on the end of her pen, acrylic nails tapping against a keyboard. She glanced up and offered a routine smile, the kind you give when you're about to turn someone away. "Checking in?" Lauren smiled. "Yes, under Jefferson, Lauren." The receptionist's fingers danced across the keyboard, then stopped. Her lips tightened slightly. I don't see a reservation under that name." "That's all right. There's a suite always held open for me." "Ma'am, we're actually at full capacity tonight." The girl's tone shifted subtly. "You'd need to have a confirmed booking, for guests only." Lauren's smile didn't waver, but something in the air changed. She looked past the receptionist to the gold plaque mounted on the wall behind her. Summit Crest Hotel, a Jefferson property. Her name wasn't just on a reservation, it was on the building. "I am a guest," she said quietly, "and more than that, I own this hotel." The girl blinked. For a moment she looked stunned, like Lauren had said she was royalty. Then her lips curved into a doubtful smirk. "You own Summit Crest?" Lauren nodded calmly. The girl leaned toward the desk phone. "I'm going to have to call the manager." "Go ahead." Across the lobby, a couple in golf shirts looked over. A man near the fireplace tilted his head. Lauren could feel it, that familiar weight of skepticism. The look that said someone's lying, and we think we know who. Moments later, a thin man with a crooked tie and a clipboard stepped out from a side door. His badge read, "Assistant Manager, Dylan Maris." He took one look at Lauren and launched into fake cheer mode. "Good evening. Is there a problem with your reservation?" "She claims to own the hotel," the receptionist said, a little too loudly. Dylan paused. Lauren didn't. "I don't claim to own it," she said evenly. "I do. My name is Lauren Jefferson. You'll find it on every quarterly report, every executive memo. I'm here for one night. There should be a suite blocked under ownership." Dylan adjusted his glasses. "Right. Just give me one moment, please." He turned toward the back, muttering into his walkie. Lauren stood still. She didn't cross her arms, didn't check the time. But the air was getting thicker. That's when security arrived. Not aggressive, but just enough to make a point. One stood by the elevators, the other near the coffee bar. Lauren didn't flinch. But inside, that quiet fire began to rise. It wasn't just that they didn't recognize her. It was that they assumed she didn't belong. Again, she could have pulled out her ID. She could have shown emails, ownership papers, even photos from the ribbon-cutting ceremony 8 years ago. But instead, Lauren Jefferson stepped back from the front desk, pulled out her phone, and made one call. That was all it took. She didn't explain much, didn't even raise her voice. "I've been denied access to my own property. I need this resolved immediately." The call lasted 26 seconds. She didn't pace, didn't sigh, didn't record anyone like people often do these days. She just stood, quiet, near a marble pillar, phone still in hand. The receptionist kept typing, like the screen might change the truth. Dylan hadn't returned yet. The guards kept their silent posts. The lobby buzzed with discomfort. People watched her, not with curiosity, but with confusion. A few feet away, 3 women near the window whispered behind manicured hands. A young man pretending to work on his laptop tilted the screen so he could sneak glances. The doorman had stopped greeting guests. Everyone could feel something was happening. No one knew quite what. Lauren noticed the receptionist sliding her phone out beneath the counter, probably Googling her name, probably expecting to find nothing. It would have been funny if it weren't so familiar, because this is how it always went. People thought they knew what power looked like, what leadership sounded like, what ownership wore. And someone like her, brown skin, natural curls pulled into a neat puff, no designer bag, no loud jewelry, she didn't match the picture. So they questioned it. That's what stung, not the denial, the fact that it wasn't even surprising anymore. She remembered another lobby in Cincinnati years ago. She'd just been promoted, 26, vice president of guest experience, wearing heels that gave her blisters and a suit 2 sizes too big because it was all she could afford. Security had followed her around until the CFO came down to meet her in person. She hadn't forgotten that. And here she was, still proving herself, in a building she built. Then came the elevator chime. 2 men stepped out, one in a gray suit holding a tablet, the other in a company fleece. They didn't look like hotel staff. They looked like authority. Lauren recognized them instantly. Regional Vice President, Brent Kessler. District Manager, Thomas Reno. Now their faces showed panic. Brent moved fast. "Miss Jefferson, we are so sorry. I just got the call." Thomas followed, breathless. "We're resolving this right now." Dylan emerged from the back office with a file folder, but stopped cold at the sight of Brent and Thomas. His mouth opened, but Brent raised a hand and silenced him with a look. The receptionist froze, eyes wide. She finally realized who Lauren was. Thomas glanced at his tablet. "Suite 1402 is cleared. Your driver's being rerouted for the morning. Your fruit tray and espresso machine will be set up as usual." Lauren offered the faintest smile. "Thank you." But she wasn't done. She watched the room.
She wanted to see how people shifted now that they knew. Would their tone change? Their posture? She wanted to see what power looked like when it walked in after being ignored. Because it's one thing to be dismissed by mistake. It's something else when they know your name and choose to do it anyway. Brent pulled Dylan aside, his voice low and sharp. Thomas was already on the phone with corporate, talking about protocol and service policy violations. The stares that had once burned holes into Lauren now turned inward. Staff looking at each other, uncertain, afraid, frozen between apology and damage control. Lauren didn't gloat. She didn't smirk or say, "I told you so." She simply stepped back up to the desk, placed her phone gently on the counter. "I'll take the 14th floor suite," she said evenly. "Same setup. Please send someone up to confirm it's clean." The receptionist opened her mouth, but couldn't find the words. Lauren didn't wait. She turned to Brent. "Am I checked in?" "Just finished," Brent replied, flipping the clipboard. 2 key cards, an incident report will be sent up." "And the rest?" He nodded. "Site-wide notification already issued. Audit team on standby. All current staff will go through guest protocol recertification. Disciplinary actions begin tonight." Lauren looked over at the receptionist, who now nervously bit the inside of her cheek. "You'll speak to her." Brent swallowed. "Yes, ma'am, with HR present." Lauren raised her hand slightly. "I'll speak to her too. Not now, after I've rested." She took the key cards, nodded once, walked toward the elevators. Heads turned. Some whispered. Others stayed silent, but no one stopped her. The elevator doors closed. Inside, she saw Dylan standing stiff near the front desk, sweat clinging to his temples. On the 14th floor, the suite smelled faintly of lemon and eucalyptus. A fruit tray waited on the coffee table. Espresso pods neatly stacked beside the machine. A handwritten card sat on the desk, rushed but sincere. She moved slowly through the room, not inspecting for cleanliness, but for intention. Because this hotel wasn't just a business, it was her story. She remembered being 31,
pitching the concept to a skeptical bank in Minnesota. They barely listened, offered brutal loan terms, almost dared her to fail. She didn't. She had 17 properties now, from Portland to Miami, and still people looked at her and didn't see it. Her phone buzzed. A message from her assistant. "Everything in motion. Let me know if you want a media statement." She paused.
She could have gone public. One tweet and it'd go viral. One interview and headlines would write themselves. But tonight wasn't about headlines. It was about something deeper. Not rage, not revenge, respect. And how too often that's tied to appearance, not reality. She sat on the edge of the bed, hands folded, the espresso cup still warm between her palms. Outside, the night in Asheville stirred with its usual energy. Traffic along the main strip, laughter from rooftop bars, the occasional distant train horn. Inside the suite, everything was still. Then came the knock. "Room service." A young man entered with another espresso, a handwritten note from the kitchen manager, and a complimentary offer for a massage therapist on the house. Lauren thanked him quietly, closed the door, and sat again, staring at the skyline. There had been so many moments like this, where she didn't yell, didn't storm out, didn't perform outrage, just waited, watched, then changed the system from the inside. At exactly 6:30 a.m., Lauren Jefferson descended the elevator, but not as a guest, as the CEO. Her suit was crisp, deep navy with a pearl white blouse and black heels that echoed against the tile with every purposeful step. Her hair was swept back into a professional bun, her expression calm, focused, unshakable. The lobby had begun to stir, with early checkouts and sleepy travelers waiting for coffee. Conversations paused when she entered. Even the barista at the lobby cafe stopped mid-pour. Brent and Thomas were already waiting near the fireplace, with 3 folders and 2 untouched coffees. Lauren didn't greet them. She walked straight into the small executive conference room just past the concierge desk. Inside, seated at the table, were Dylan Maris, assistant manager, the receptionist, now identified as Kayla Mendez, and Marta, the HR representative from corporate. Marta introduced herself simply, professionally. "I'll be documenting our discussion today." Lauren didn't sit. She remained standing at the head of the table, arms folded. No one spoke. The silence stretched until it became a presence in the room. Then, softly, Lauren said, "Would someone like to explain what happened last night?" Kayla looked down. Dylan shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Lauren waited. Finally, Kayla mumbled, "I just didn't think she was... I didn't expect..." "You didn't expect someone like me to own the building," Lauren finished for her, calm, not cruel. Kayla nodded faintly. "Was I rude to you?" Lauren asked. "No, ma'am." "Did I raise my voice?" No. Did I threaten anyone? No. Lauren took a slow breath and turned to Marta. "I don't need this to be a firing squad, but I do need accountability." Marta nodded. "Understood." Thomas added, "We're issuing a formal write-up and pulling Kayla from front desk rotation until she completes retraining. Dylan will be placed on administrative review, pending further evaluation." Lauren accepted the explanation with a quiet nod, then turned back to Kayla. "How long have you worked here?" 4 months, Kayla said. "And in that time, how often have you thought about who built this hotel, where it came from?" Kayla hesitated. "I guess I assumed it was owned by some corporation." Lauren let the moment sit. "I've built 17 properties, from Portland to Miami. Every one of them designed to elevate the experience. Luxury made accessible. Service made human. I built this brand because I was tired of being treated like a shadow." She let her words hang. "Tell me why, when I walk into my own lobby, I'm still invisible to the people working under my name." It wasn't anger in her voice.
It was exhaustion. Kayla looked like she wanted to melt into her chair. Thomas added, "We've already drafted a memo. Mandatory inclusivity training across all Jefferson properties. Everyone, no exceptions." Lauren raised her eyebrow. "Make sure it's not just a box to check. Don't give them scripts. Give them real stories, real perspectives. I want them to understand what respect looks like when no one's watching." Brent nodded. "We'll make it real." Lauren finally took a seat. The meeting ended not long after, and she walked out of the conference room as silently as she had entered. The lobby seemed to straighten itself. Some staff nodded nervously. She didn't acknowledge them. Not yet. She wasn't interested in performance. She was interested in change. But there was still one more conversation she needed to have, and it had nothing to do with HR policy. She waited until the morning rush thinned. Not for effect, for clarity. No phones ringing, no guests walking in. Just truth. She found Kayla Mendez in the break lounge behind the cafe bar, seated at a narrow table with a blueberry muffin mostly untouched. Her phone lay face down on the table. She looked up fast when Lauren entered, nearly knocking over her coffee. "Relax," Lauren said, pulling out the chair across from her. Kayla swallowed hard. "Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I mean..." "Drop the ma'am. This isn't a hearing."
Kayla nodded, eyes down. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Lauren asked, "Have you ever worked somewhere you felt small?" Kayla blinked. "Yeah, most places." "Tell me." Kayla hesitated, then shrugged. "I used to work at a diner out on the bypass. Paper hat, got yelled at by the cooks every day. Customers barely tipped. Some called me kid, even though I was 27. I felt invisible." Lauren nodded. "So you know what it feels like to be ignored?" "Yes." "Then help me understand," Lauren said softly, "how you looked me in the eye and decided I didn't belong." The silence that followed was heavy. Kayla's voice cracked. "I don't know. I didn't mean to. When you walked in, I thought maybe you were waiting for someone. You didn't look like..." She stopped herself. "Didn't look like what?" Kayla shook her head. "Like the kind of person who owns hotels." Lauren didn't flinch. "And what does that kind of person look like?" Kayla didn't answer. "That's the problem," Lauren said. "People carry pictures in their heads. Older, probably male, definitely not me. And those pictures turn into assumptions. Those assumptions turn into actions, into decisions, into moments like last night." "I'm sorry," Kayla said. "I know it's not enough, but I am." Lauren nodded. "It's a start, but I'm not here for an apology." Kayla looked confused. "I came because I want you to see me, not as your boss, not as some corporate cautionary tale, as a person." Kayla sat quietly, searching Lauren's eyes for understanding. "You really started as a receptionist?" Lauren smiled gently. "St. Paul, Minnesota. I was 19. My first manager said I sounded too educated for the phones and moved me to night audit. That was the beginning." Kayla almost laughed. "That's unreal." "It shouldn't be," Lauren replied. "It should be normal." She stood. "I don't expect perfection from you, but I do expect awareness. Every guest who walks through that door, old, young, dressed up or not, deserves dignity. Start there, and you'll never have to recover from moments like last night again." Kayla stood too. "Thank you for talking to me. I mean that." Lauren nodded once, turned, and left the lounge. Something inside her felt lighter, because the message had finally landed where it needed to. By mid-morning, the rhythm of the Summit Crest Hotel had returned, at least on the surface. Guests wheeled their bags across polished tile, coffee cups clinked gently at the bar. A family asked about nearby hiking trails. The world moved on, as it always does. But inside the management office, things were different. Brent stood near the window, watching the valet rotate cars. Thomas typed away at his laptop, drafting the internal memo. Marta reviewed onboarding protocols with a look of unshakable focus.
And in the center of it all was Lauren Jefferson, reading a stack of personnel evaluations with a pen in hand. "I'm not here to punish," she said, scanning one file. "I'm here to prevent repetition."
Thomas looked up. We're adjusting the interview process for front desk hires, screening for empathy, not just experience. We're testing for pattern recognition, bias awareness. Good, Lauren replied. She tapped her pen once on the desk. And put me on the rotation. Starting next quarter, I'll show up at random properties. Brent raised a brow. You mean, what, like a secret guest? Not secret, she said, just anonymous, until I'm not. Thomas grinned slightly. That's gonna make some people nervous. Good, she said, let them sit in it. The real version of this job doesn't come with warnings. She placed the last folder into a manila file and launched the new training modules by next Friday. I want story-based learning, not corporate fluff. Real experiences from guests and employees, words that feel human. Done, Brent said. Lauren left the office and walked back through the lobby. At the front desk, a new agent had taken over, young, polished, confident. When he saw her, he smiled, not nervously, but respectfully, like someone who understood who she was and what she represented. She returned the nod, then scanned the lobby one last time. Everything looked still, but underneath, small cracks were forming in old habits. That's how change begins. Not with an email blast, not with a public apology, with quiet corrections, repeated until they stick. She headed back to the 14th floor to grab her things. Her flight wasn't until late afternoon, and she'd already checked out of the board meeting she had originally flown in to avoid. When the elevator doors opened, the hallway was still. The suite door was ajar. Housekeeping must have just finished. Inside, her bag was zipped and ready, laptop charged, room tidy. Everything was in order, except for one thing. On the nightstand was a folded piece of lined paper, not hotel stationery, just a tear from a legal pad. She opened it. Miss Jefferson, thank you for your grace. I'll be better. Kayla. No envelope, no branding, just careful, nervous handwriting. It meant more than a scripted company apology ever could. Lauren folded it and slipped it into her purse. Downstairs, a black sedan waited by the curb. The same doorman from the night before opened the door with intent this time. Safe travels, Miss Jefferson, he said warmly. We hope to see you again soon. She smiled. You will.
She didn't look back. She didn't need to, because what she left behind was heavier than luggage. She left the weight of being misjudged, the ache of having to explain her worth, and in its place, understanding, discomfort, growth, not just for the staff, but maybe even for herself. The ride to the airport was quiet. No small talk from the driver, no music, just the soft hum of tires and the rhythm of turn signals. Lauren sat in the back seat, one hand resting on her purse, the other holding the folded note. She didn't reread it. She didn't need to. It was there, a quiet marker that the night hadn't been for nothing. She looked out the window at the brick buildings, the quiet storefronts, the signs for bakeries and car washes along the highway. She hadn't meant to be in Asheville that week, but maybe she'd needed to be. Not for the board meeting, not for the numbers, for the conversation. Because here's the truth. This kind of thing, it didn't shock her anymore. She wasn't even angry it happened. She was tired that it kept happening. Tired of how easily people sort others into boxes. Tired of having to prove the same thing over and over. Yes, this is mine. Yes, I built it. Yes, I deserve to be here. And yet, no bitterness. That's the part people never understood. Lauren didn't carry bitterness. She carried memory. And memory? It can be a powerful thing if you use it right. As the airport signs came into view, she thought of her younger self again. The girl working overnight shifts in stiff uniforms and clearance rack shoes. No makeup, no recognition, just ambition. Just the belief that someday she'd build something no one could take away. And she had. But buildings weren't enough. Because even with 17 hotels and hundreds of employees, people still looked at her and saw less. So what do you do when the world refuses to see you?
You make sure you see yourself, without apology. And then you walk in anyway. You stand your ground. You speak plainly. You don't beg for permission. You act like the door was always yours. Lauren stepped out of the car, pulled her bag behind her, and nodded at the driver. No more words needed. Inside the terminal, travelers hurried past. Coffee cups, roller bags, TSA announcements on repeat. Lauren moved quietly, almost invisible again in the shuffle. But inside, she felt solid, because she'd taken a moment of humiliation and turned it into a mirror. A mirror for everyone in that hotel to finally see themselves. And mirrors don't lie. They show you exactly who you are. She hoped Kayla would grow. She hoped Dylan would learn. She hoped Brent and Thomas would follow through on their promises. But if they didn't, she'd still be standing. Because dignity isn't something people hand you. It's something you never let go of. And for anyone watching, anyone listening, anyone who's ever been doubted, dismissed, or spoken to like they didn't matter, Lauren Jefferson had one last thing to say. You don't have to shout to be heard. You just have to know who you are and walk like it. Every single time. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them learn. Let them wonder how they missed it. And when they finally see you, make sure they never forget. The story of Lauren Jefferson powerfully illustrates how identity, resilience, and quiet strength can dismantle deeply ingrained assumptions. One of the key lessons is that respect should never be conditional. Too often, people rely on superficial cues, appearance, tone, attire, to assign value to others. Lauren's experience shows how easily competence and ownership can be overlooked when someone doesn't look the part. But rather than meet ignorance with anger, she leads with dignity, choosing education over humiliation. This offers a reminder: real power doesn't always raise its voice. It stands its ground. It also highlights the importance of building systems that reflect empathy, not just efficiency. Whether you're in a leadership role or simply navigating everyday life, treat people as if they already matter, because they do. We're all mirrors to each other. The way we react, include, or dismiss others reveals not just who they are, but who we are. And finally, the story teaches us that personal success isn't just about rising. It's about reaching back, correcting the culture, and creating space for those who come after. In a world full of noise, real impact often starts with quiet correction and the courage to keep walking like the door was always yours.
If you found this video helpful or thought-provoking, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It really helps more people discover our content. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest updates from our channel. Thanks for watching. We will see you in the next videos.